Many names have been given to Saint Augustine of Hippo, father of the Church, saint, first philosopher of the Church, doctor of grace. This is to convey, for those who may not be familiar with him, the extraordinary influence he has had. We will structure the video in two parts. The first part will present his incredible sayings, which are still highly relevant even after 1600 years. In the second part of the video, we will briefly explore his life and the key concepts of his works, so that we can fully understand why this extraordinary figure has such an impact on contemporary Western civilization. Let's begin with his most famous quotes. "To err is human, but to persist in error is diabolical. Happiness is wanting what you have. The measure of love is to love without measure. A whole heart is better than a great head. If I am mistaken, I exist. False humility is worse than arrogance. The smaller the mind, the greater the conceit. Life is sweet, even if you desire it. Words were not invented so men could deceive one another, but so they could share the goodness of their thoughts. People as I travel to wonder at the heights of mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of the stars, and yet they pass by themselves without wondering. A life of happiness is something everyone desires and no one refuses. But where has it ever been found to be so desired? Where has it ever been seen to be so attractive? Love is the beauty of the soul. If you love life and fear death, this fear of death is like a daily winter. The rich display what they have, but do not show what they lack. God loves each of us as if there were only one of us. Where there is love, there is no need for forgiveness, because when you love, you simply love. How much wealth a man has within himself, yet he does not dig. What good is the clamor of the voice if the heart is silent? Do you wish to be great? Begin by being small. Do you plan to construct a vast and lofty building? Think first about the foundation of humility. My God, I sought you outside, but you were within. It is of no advantage to be near the light if the eyes are closed. It is better to limp along the right path than to run along the wrong one. He who truly loves peace loves even those who wage war against peace. The more one gives, the more one receives. The less hopeful men are, the less they pay attention to their own sins, and the more they scrutinize the sins of others. Indeed, they do not seek to correct but to criticize, and since they cannot excuse themselves, they are ready to accuse others. Man, you can run away from everything you want, but not from your conscience. What does love look like? It has the hands to help others, the feet to hasten to the poor and needy, the eyes to see misery and want, the ears to hear the sighs and sorrows of men. That is what love looks like. Love is a great teacher. God, to turn away from you is to fall. To turn towards you is to rise. To remain in you is to be secure. O God, to abandon you is to die. To return to you is to be revived. To dwell in you is to live. Christians know that it was far better for the poor believer to die among the dogs that licked his sores than for the rich unbeliever to die in purple and fine linen. Late have I loved you, O beauty, so ancient and so new. Late have I loved you. For you were within me, and I was outside, and it was there that I searched for you. If one is not jealous, one does not love. Faith is in the will of the believer. To touch with the heart, that is to believe. The The perfection of man consists in discovering his own imperfections. You say, these are difficult times, oppressive times, worrying times. Live rightly, and you will change the times. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Habit, if not resisted, becomes necessity. It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels. These are bad times, hard times, troubling times. This is what people keep saying. But let us live well, and times shall be good. We are the times. Such as we are, such are the times. If justice be taken away, what are governments but great bands of robbers? The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. Teach me the sweetness inspired by charity. Teach me the discipline inspired by patience. Teach me the knowledge illuminated by your truth. Every historical event, no matter how disastrous, is always on a path leading to the positive and has a constructive meaning. They go to admire the high mountains, the huge waves of the sea, the broad tides of the rivers, the vastness of the ocean, the orbits of the stars, and they neglect themselves. Hope has two beautiful daughters, anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain the way they are. Love slays what we have been so that we may be what we were not. Those whom we love and lose are no longer where they were before. They are now wherever we are. The true power of God is not in preventing evil, but in bringing good out of evil. A faith that is not thought through is nothing. Patience is the companion of wisdom. Woman is a frail, unstable, and malicious creature, aiming to humiliate her husband. She is full of malice, and the source of every quarrel and war. She is the path and road of all iniquities. Nothing can so debase the mind of a man as the caresses of a woman and those physical relations which belong to the married state. Grant me chastity and continence, but not yet. Live every day of your life as if it were your last. Those we love and lose are no longer where they were before. They are now wherever we are. We follow this apostolic rule handed down to us by the fathers. If we find something true, even among the enemies of truth, we correct their malice without violating their truth. Thus, in the same person, we correct the errors starting from the truths admitted by him, avoiding destroying the true things with the criticism of the false ones. Anger is a straw. Hatred is a beam. God is better known in not knowing. What, then, is time? If no one asks me, I know. If I wish to explain it to him who asks, I do not know. Love is not seen in a place and is not sought with the eyes of the body. Its words are not heard, and when it comes to you, its steps are not heard. In giving yourself, how can you fear to lose yourself? On the contrary, you would lose yourself by refusing to give yourself. God provides the wind, but man must raise the sails. The man who does not deceive himself is wise to his own harm. Punishment is justice for the unjust. Being calm and understanding why you worry is within you. Dim the light. There can be no doubt that it is more in accordance with the order of nature that man should dominate over woman, rather than the other way around. This principle emerges when the Apostle Paul says, "The head of the woman is the man," and "Wives, be subject to your husbands." The Apostle Peter also writes, "Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. And behold, you were within me, and I was outside, and I sought you there, and in my ugliness I threw myself upon those beautiful things which you made. You were with me, but I was not with you. You have ordained, as justice requires, that every disordered soul be its own punishment. He is neither extinguished nor far away, but close to us. Happy and transformed, without having lost the goodness and gentleness of his holy heart. The way the spirit is united to the body cannot be understood by man, and yet in this union consists the man. If you believe what you like in the Gospels and reject what you do not like, it is not the gospel you believe, but yourself. Either it is evil that we fear, or the evil is that we fear. Learning with a voluntary curiosity has more power to teach than compulsion with threats. These 3 times are in my soul, and I do not see them elsewhere. The present of past things, which is memory. The present of present things, which is sight. The present of future things, which is expectation. The weakness of limbs in little children is innocent, not their souls. 6 is a perfect number in itself, not because God created all things in 6 days. Rather, the opposite is true. God created all things in 6 days because this number is perfect, and it would remain perfect even if the work of 6 days did not exist. Now, let's delve into the details of his life and works. The relationship between Christianity and classical philosophy. With the advent of Christianity, the way religion and philosophy were conceived changed, revolutionizing the classical Hellenistic system of thought that had been the foundation of all the greatest systems developed by the minds of philosophers and thinkers up to that point. Christianity introduced monotheism, the belief in a single God, the Father and Creator of the world, thus abandoning the polytheism of Greek and Roman antiquity, which considered the existence of various deities, each with different characteristics. This shift made Christianity less inclusive compared to classical beliefs, creationism, and divine providence. Another important point is the issue of creationism. For classical thinkers, the world existed eternally, uncreated and unbegotten, whereas for Christianity, it was God who, freely and out of love, created everything that exists, giving everything without any purpose other than the happiness of his creatures. Divine providence governs the world, bringing order and harmony, caring for the lives of humans who are not left alone or at the mercy of an unchangeable fate, as was the case in classical philosophy. This change also extends to the way history and the destiny of humanity are interpreted. The Greeks saw their current condition as a decline from a mythical golden age, a regression due to the cyclical conception of history with its recurring cycles and dynamics. In contrast, Christianity views time as linear, beginning with creation and continuing uninterrupted until the end of the world. The first Christian philosopher who can be considered capable of giving his thought a systematic and coherent organization is undoubtedly Saint Augustine of Hippo. He successfully integrated Christian doctrine with elements of classical philosophy, drawing on concepts from Neoplatonism to define the concept of evil and his idea of predestination to eternal salvation. The life of Saint Augustine. Aurelius Augustine was born in Tagaste, Roman Africa, in 354 AD to Patricius, a pagan, and Monica, a Christian. Of Berber ethnicity, but culturally tied to the Hellenistic Roman school. In his youth, he studied grammar and rhetoric, approaching philosophy after reading Cicero's Hortensius. Initially, he joined the Manichaean sect, but later questioned Manichaean philosophy and renounced it after studying the words of Ambrose, the Bishop of Milan. In 387, he was baptized directly by Saint Ambrose and later became the Bishop of Hippo. Having written the Confessions and the City of God, he died on August 28, 430 in Hippo. Key concepts of Saint Augustine's philosophy. The search for truth. To arrive at the truth, one must look within oneself, immerse in one's being, and open up to God, who has a transcendental nature that cannot be fully known. Thus, knowing is an act of faith, a surrender to God, accepting His mystery, recognizing it, and surrendering to love. God is therefore truth. The true knowledge of man lies in seeking the essence of God and the Holy Spirit, for God is love. To love God means to love love itself, but to understand the divine mystery, it is necessary and indispensable to love one's neighbor. Reaching the truth essentially means recognizing oneself, seeking one's true self, and immersing in one's own interiority. The problem of evil. According to Augustine, natural evils do not exist, but are simply consequences of the hierarchical structure of the universe, serving to harmonize and systematize it. Physical evils stem from human corruptibility, which in turn derives from original sin, while moral sins are caused by a voluntary estrangement from God. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to delve deeper into the new studies on the supposed true age of Jesus at his death, click on the video in the top right corner. God bless you.